Hi. Today I'm going to talk to you about how I start a project from a template, and then we'll poke around a little bit and I'll show you what I have already set up in mine. So let's get into it. Okay, so I'm going to find my project template, and then I'm just going to click on the three dots and click Copy Project. It's going to ask me to name my project. For these purposes, I'm just going to identify the fact that it's a demonstration project and it's a primary suite renovation. I always will name my projects as the street address, and that's just because I want that information burned in everyone's brain and I want it to be really clearly identifiable. The site address is where the project is taking place. But again, just for our purposes, I'm going to name this way, and I'm going to click Create Copy. Before I get into what I've got going on in the project, I'm just going to bounce out really quickly, and I want to click on the three dots again, and I want to say Edit Name and Address. And that's because I want to make sure that the address for this project that I just copied from an existing template reflects the site address. I'm going to say that this is my site address and all this still remains the same. It's just something that's really important. I want to make sure to never forget, so I do it right away. I'll click Save, and now we'll go into our project. So I'm starting here at Plan by Category. I'm not sure if that's actually a default starting point or not, but just so you know, you have two other ways which you can view and work in your scope, and that's Plan by Location and also Scope Table. But we'll go ahead and start in the Plan by Category for now because I do want to talk about categories with you. I'm going to collapse this so you can see more clearly what I've got going on here. But I have already set up the categories that I want to be included in my project. And I can click on Add by Category so you can see that. These are a default list, like a standard list that you can pull from. The ones in blue are just letting you know that they are already included as part of your list. And I can, of course, add more categories to any project that I'm working on. But I just wanted to make sure that I don't have to add the same ones over and over again at every project start, especially when it comes to my custom categories. And I'll show those to you in just a minute. This scope, we're working on a primary bedroom and bath, so we're going to have some renovation work. So I'll make sure to include countertops and paint and stain as well. Those aren't in my list. They weren't blue, and I want to make sure they're included here. So adding a category is easy as that. But the custom categories that I've added are things like samples, and that's just because I want to be able to record a PO or process a PO for samples, and I want to be able to track those samples, not only their costs, but also making sure that they make it to their destination. Samples. I also have one for decorative lighting, and that's because my electrician doesn't care about decorative lighting. Think of categories as who you want to share information outside of the system with, basically who might be performing that work. And my electrician is going to handle all the things that are hardwired, but he's not going to care about my table lamp. So I want to make sure to not have that lumped in with his scope of work. So I have my own category for decorative lighting. I also have one for white glove storage and delivery. That's a big cost, and I want to make sure clients are aware that it's part of their project, and it needs to be. And I want it to be more than just like a statement in the design agreement. So this just really helps call it out and prepares them for the fact that that is coming. I also have my design services already included in here. So again, this is just so that I don't have to do this at every project start, since there are ones that I use all the time. Now let's go to the fees here. I want to talk about these down here. So I already have my fees set up. I'll click on edit fees so that you can see that. But I have a procurement and project management fee, and this is applied to anything that I'm responsible for procuring. When I get to the invoicing stage, I'll be able to turn this off so that it doesn't apply to anything that's outside of things that I'm procuring. But for now, I just want to make sure that I'm capturing that cost and making sure that the overall budget reflects that charge. I have a contingency fee. This is something that I'll take as a retainer, and that's because things are going to come up that that are not expected or couldn't have been planned for, and I need to have a little bucket of funds to be able to allocate as I see fit in order to address those things. I also have shipping and freight is a lot. Right now, I would even say it's probably closer to 19 to 20%. But I, again, want that to be something that's called out that clients are aware that they have to pay for and are responsible for. So I have that included here. I also have general liability insurance. I just want to make sure that I'm accounting for all the costs of a project and making sure that the client is the one who's paying for those things instead of me, and documenting everything really well, and especially doing so in advance so that I don't have to rely on my memory, ensures that I do that well. All right, so now I want to go to this little wheel here. This is where I will find my default rates. This is the same as the questions that Materio is asking you when you start a project from scratch, but mine are already set up here. I've already established the behavior that I want Materio to follow. Just know that this is in regards to your estimated numbers, not your selection costs. We'll talk a little bit more about estimated number in Materio in a minute, but what I want you to see is that I've already basically told Materio that I don't pay a vendor tax on material, which is product. So I don't pay a vendor tax on product, shipping, delivery, or labor. I do mark up products and I also mark labor. And then I pay a tax on anything that I have a markup on. Is when I enter in a number for an estimated cost, say in my mind, I'm thinking like, hey, I can get a bed for $6,500. No problem. But Materio is there to say like, hey, okay, we definitely want to plan for an estimated cost for $6,500 for a bed, but that's what you would pay. Let's think about it, how your client would eventually need to see it. Let's make sure that we are including your markup. Let's make sure that we're including the tax. Let's make sure that we're including all these other costs that you need to think about when you're estimating your numbers. So that's super helpful. All right, now let's go to plan by location so you can see the locations. And I actually don't have any locations, and that's just because I will always set up my locations based upon my specific scope of work. So I will do that project per project. I do have my design services in here. They're under no location because of course they're not per room. But I just want you to see that having my design services in here is one of the first things that I'm going to be able to share with a client. That's how I'm going to send my design agreement and collect my fee. And so I identify all the phases that I move through during my design process. For me, that's pre-design, schematic design, design development, pre-procurement, pre-construction, and final deliverable. So I have that already loaded in here because I already know that I'm going to move through these phases no matter what the scope of work is. And I want to make sure that I'm allocating hours to these things and a cost to these things so that I can come to a good overall fee for the project. This is probably right where I want to be for the primary suite renovation. So I'm probably not going to need to change any of these numbers, but it would just be so easy to just change the numbers because I already have the formula already established. So it's as easy as that. I'm going to go back and change it back to 25. But so you can see, I've already told it that I want the unit to be hours and that my unit cost is $195. I don't have a vendor tax, I don't have a markup, and I don't have a client tax. So just again, really nice to have all that already established. And all I need to do is make sure that I go through and then I change the numbers to reflect the scope that I'm working on. So that's how I have my projects already set up when I open them or when I start them from a template. It's really nice to have this head start and then I can just get in and start working. So let's do that together in the next video. I'll see you there.